to make sure I look jacked here. Alright. Hey grip friends. I wanted to make a video kind of talking about the Flask and what exactly the Flask is and why I made it and kind of the goals that I had in mind whenever I started designing it. In case you've never seen it, this is a Flask. This is also a Flask, but we're not going to be talking about that in this video. However, so here we've got the Barrel Strength Systems Flask pinch device. So in creating this, I wanted to create a pinch device with four things in mind. It was complexity, accessibility, uniformity, and cost. Now what I mean by complexity is the first thing I thought whenever I started promoting a contest, the Southern Squeeze as a matter of fact, the first thing I started thinking about was the events I wanted included. So I wanted a crush event, which was going to be grippers, and I wanted a thick bar event, which I decided was going to be the V-bar, and then I got to pinch and I was like, well, what do I want to use? And most competitions use an adjustable pinch device. And I started thinking about that and thinking about all the new people I wanted to bring in and trying to explain to them the adjustable pinch device and actually adjusting the pinch device and getting their widths and then the time that it would take, especially given the size of the competition that we had, which was 26 competitors. I was like, no, we're not going to do that. And I started to use another existing pinch block, and then I was like, you know what, why don't I just design my own? So I came up with the Flask. So one of the first advantages that I'll bring up that I sought to get out of this was a very simple device. There's only one moving part, which is this little pin that comes out, and there's only one width. And to me, that only makes sense since we don't have a bunch of different handle sizes of grippers, and everyone lifts on the same axle, and I don't know, it just made sense to me that everyone would use the same thing. Whenever I went to my first contest, it's kind of my friends mentioned to me as well. So when I went to my first competition, it was nationals in Worcester, Ohio, and I had a bunch of friends come with me, my entourage, so to speak. But they had a lot of fun, but whenever it came time for the pinch event, none of them were at all experienced with grip competitions. So when it came time for the pinch event, they watched for a little bit, and then they started to get bored, and then they got up and left because they drove all night, and they went outside and slept. I mean, I didn't really blame them. The event took a long time, and after the event, that was like the one feedback they all had. They were like, that event took forever, and why is everyone pinching at different widths, and why are we using this device? And you know, that was something I thought about whenever I was coming up with the Southern Squeeze. I want more people to do this. I like this a lot, and I want more people to want to do it as well. And if there's some kind of intimidating impediment to people getting interested in this sport, then something needs to be done. There has to be an alternative. And let me go ahead and say, I don't see this as a replacement for the adjustable pinch. I know a lot of people want to say that, but it's not a replacement for the adjustable pinch. Clearly, this device is not adjustable. I think that there are training applications for pinching at different widths. But for me, and some other people that I've talked to, and a lot of new people, having something simple like this is more attractive in a competition, just for the sake of time. It's a lot better for spectators, and it's a lot better for the competitors to have something very simple. The next goal that I had was weight and accessibility. The second competition I ever did was the National Capital Grip Championship hosted by Tom Schiavelli, which was a great competition. It was a lot of fun. Tom's a great host. He had the best scoreboard setup I've ever seen. And but one issue that we came across was we had one female competitor and we had two juniors competitors. And when it came time to do the one-hand pinch event, none of them could lift it, empty. And again, I thought, man, there's people being excluded from this just because they can't lift the empty device. So I made a really light device, which this is made of aluminum, and there's not a whole lot to it, and it weighs under 2 pounds. So this, combined with a loading pin, weighs under 6 pounds, meaning anyone can pick it up with no weight on it. The uniformity portion that I was going for had to do with the materials. I chose aluminum. I could have made this out of carbon steel. I could have made it out of a lot of things, but I chose aluminum because it doesn't wear, it doesn't season, it doesn't corrode. So, say you have a carbon steel implement in Michigan. All the salt on the roads and the precipitation is going to make that rust up pretty quick. And the older it is, the more rust it's going to have on it, and that changes the texture on it, which matters a whole lot in a friction lift like the pinch block. You have the same device, and you take it to Arizona, for example, where there's hardly any precipitation, and they've never salted the roads in their lives, and that device could stay shiny for a long time depending on how much it's used. So with aluminum, it doesn't matter if I just pour a bucket of salt and water on top of this. I could put it at the bottom of the ocean, or I could have one that was in the vacuum of space. They're going to be the same. The only difference between this brand new Flask and every other Flask that I've sold, the only difference is how much chalk is on them. And I use sandpaper to put a texture on there. So it's 60 grit sandpaper, so it's a little rough so that it can hold chalk. So if you know how to put chalk on something, then you can make every single Flask feel exactly the same to you. And to the point of the texture I put on, another thing I thought about was possibly coating them or doing powder coating or paint or something like that. But I don't want there to be any discrepancies between old lifts and new lifts because of some change I made with the device. I know that Ironmind, for example, has had to change the coatings that they've used on some of their things. So if you have like an old hub, I've heard that they're really slippery, or old Blockbusters are really slippery, and the newer ones have like more of a textured finish on them, so people can lift a little bit more. And that's not necessarily Ironmind's fault. They might have been buying their paint from a certain supplier and they went out of business. But I don't want the integrity of people's lifts to be compromised at the whims of such and such paint and coating company going out of business. So the best thing to do is integrate it into the actual metal of the device so that it's not going to ever change. It's 60 grit sandpaper. They're always going to have 60 grit sandpaper. And the last thing that I tried to achieve with this device was based around cost. Whenever I bought my adjustable pinch device, I ended up spending a little over $300, which is as much as I devote to doing grip stuff. It wasn't really a big deal, but for people coming into the sport, $300 is kind of a big pill to swallow. And there's some people that, whether or not they care a lot about grip, just don't have that kind of money to spend. So I wanted, in designing this, to reduce my cost so I could sell these for less than $100. I feel like that's kind of a dividing line for, is this like a big purchase or not. So I've got these priced at $95 right now. And then in addition to that, by being so light, being under 2 pounds, and being a pretty small device altogether, I think this is about 11 inches wide or something like that. It's a small, lightweight device. Shipping, international shipping, is relatively easy to do, and then shipping within the United States. I mean, I can just throw this into a pretty small box and send it. I think I've got the shipping on these is like $15 or something like that. So I wanted to make these accessible because to me, one of the biggest things that I can do for the grip community with my products is get more people into the grip community, because this is such a good sport. It's such a worthwhile approach to training and exercise is training the grip, because I mean, you use your hands every day, and the people in the community are so nice, so fun to be around, so helpful. So yeah, that's what the Flask is. The Flask. It's simple, it's accessible, everyone is the same, and it's cheap. If you're interested in competing and training your pinch, or pinching 245 plates with the smooth sides out, this is the device. Get one. Now, go get on the website, buy it.